Hey, beautiful people. How are you today? It's Kavita, and I'm back with another video. So today I just wanted to stop by very quick. I pray that everything is going well with you. And I just want to stop by and encourage you on today. So today, as I was in my study time, I was reading about Abram before his name got changed to Abraham in Genesis 12 when God told him, to leave your country, leave your relatives behind, leave your father's house to go to a land that I will show you, right? And God didn't tell him where, right? And so I was thinking to myself, a lot of times we don't want to let go of things. We don't want to let go of places, of spaces. We don't want to let go of relationships. We don't want to let go of friendships. We don't want to let go of anything. God told him to leave this country. Leave what you're familiar with. Leave where you grew up, bro. Leave that behind. Leave your relatives. Leave boo boo and them behind, because boo boo and them can't go, okay? Leave them behind. And a lot of times we don't want to let go of things. We don't want to let go of people. We don't want to let go of those spaces and places that we are familiar with, that we are comfortable with, that we find security in, right? Security, come on, somebody. Okay? We don't want to leave any of that behind. But in reality, God was saying, like, hey, you're going to have to leave all that behind to get what I got for you, to get where I told you to go. Because how many of us know some people cannot go with us where we are going, and not because we don't love them, not because God don't love them, not because we're better than them, but because sometimes those limiting mindsets of where you may have grew up, what you have been around your whole life, sometimes those limiting mindsets of those people, those poverty mindsets of those people, those beliefs of those people, sometimes that character of those people not going to sustain them where God is taking you, right? And God had to work with you and work on you so that you could get to a place where you are able to go to that space and to that place and go to those places that God has promised you, right? But if we take people with us that God has said don't take with you, and if we stay in those places where God said get up and leave, we will never get to where God has purposed us to get to if we don't walk away from that, what we think is security, to really gain true security, which is in the Lord, right? And in His plan and purpose for our lives, right? We'll never get to those places to really see the true manifestation of what God has for us, because we'll be stuck in those places, and sometimes we linger longer than we should with those in those spaces and in those places, in those friendships, in those relationships, because it's so comfortable to us. It's just what we've always known. It's what we're comfortable in. It's what's familiar to us. It's where we find security, and sometimes even where you find a little laughter, a little fun, a little joy, a little kiki, right? But in reality, man, if you take boo boo and them with you, if I was to take boo boo and them with me, like, they character not gonna sustain them. And God said that's not a part of the plan. And as we keep reading later on, we realize, like, okay, Abraham took Lot with him, his nephew, and God didn't tell him to take him, and it ended up not working out too well, right? So in reality, when God tells us to do something, it's always going to be for our benefit and for the benefit of other people involved, right? Because we really don't be wanting to leave people behind. We really don't want to be leaving them places that we familiar with. We're like, bro, I grew up here. I know my way around. I know all this, but God, like, nah, leave all this behind to go to a place that I will show you. And you like, God, hold on, I'm gonna need a little bit more details. How many of us know? Come on, somebody. We want them details. We need things to be laid out, because I need to know, like, if I walk away from what I'm familiar with, what I've always known, if I walk away from what and who I'm comfortable with, if I walk away from the security of my job, if I walk away from the security of all of this stuff, hear me? Stuff. How I know you got me. In reality, that's essentially what we be saying. But in reality, God, like, hey, you're gonna have to just choose to trust me, choose to believe me, and choose to follow me, so that you can see that what I said is true, right? And oftentimes we don't want to do that because we like, But if we keep reading, we realize God said that to Abram. He said that I will bless you and I will make your name great. You will be a great nation, right? And Abraham had to choose to actually believe God, trust God, believe God, and actually follow God. And it tells us that Abraham departed from that place and he actually did what God said. And so the same thing for our lives, trusting God and believing God and actually following God is very crucial to the success of our lives and for us to see the manifestation of what God said in our lives. Because come on now, we know God's plans for us are for good and not for evil, right? And we also know that God has a perfect and acceptable and pleasing will for our lives. However, we're never going to get there if we choose to do our own thing and go our own way. Taking boo boo and them with you when God said leave them, taking Lot with you when God said leave them, ain't gonna prove good, right? And so in reality, we just need to choose to walk away from those things, those places, and those spaces that mean us no good. Because how many of us know you trying to take boo boo with you, and boo boo, all he thinking about, man, It cost $10.99. And he used to pay $2.99. God said, I'm trying to elevate you. I'm trying to take you higher. And boo boo is just gonna keep dragging you down, keep you in that limited mindset and that poverty thinking. And in reality, I'm gonna need you to rise higher. I'm gonna need you to go higher. I'm gonna need your thoughts to go higher. I'm gonna need your mindset, your process to see me bigger than that $2.99. To see that I can supply that $10.99. I can supply that $39.99 if that's what it costs, right? And that's just an example, right? And so in reality, we got to choose to do what? Let some things go, let some places go, let some people go, so that we can get to the next level of what God said for our lives, right? Why? Because it's not just going to bless us, but He said, I have blessed you to be a blessing. So if we stay stuck, how the people connected to us that's supposed to receive from the connection that we have, how are they going to be blessed by that? They're not, because we are holding up their blessings as well. So release it by choosing to do what? Trust God, believe God, and follow God, and go through with what God said, so that you can get to the other side, and in reality, so that they can get to the other side. Because some people are never going to bust a move. And if you got to know all the details, if you got to say, God, hold on, lay it out from A to Z, you ain't gonna never get there. You're never gonna bust a move. And if God showed us every single thing that was gonna happen from A to Z, it will scare the mess out of us. Why? Because you're going to see all the ups, you're going to see all the downs, you're going to see all the twists, you're going to see all the turns, you're going to see all the bad things. You're going to see all the good things. You're going to see all that, and those bad things in our mind oftentimes will overshadow the good. And so therefore we're going to run and hide and tuck our tails in a cave. And in reality, God, like, nah, I ain't going to show you none of that, because if I showed you that, you ain't gonna ever move. You ain't gonna ever really trust me. You just gonna get scared, and you gonna run, hide, and tuck your tail. And in reality, I want you to get to where I said for you to go, because I have something greater for you there than what is here, what you're familiar with, what you're used to, what you're comfortable with, right? What you find security in. I want to strip all of that from you, so that you can find security in me, in the Lord, right? So that you can find your comfort in me, the Lord, so that you can find what? Your safety in the Lord. So much so that you get to a place you're like, man, I know God got me. I'm gonna go ahead. I heard what He said, and I'm gonna go ahead and do it, because man, I know He got me. He showed me before. He'll show me again. He did it before. He'll do it again, right? And we have to remember those things, so that we don't allow ourselves to stay stuck in those limited mindsets, limited beliefs, and just choose to trust God and believe God, knowing that we have been blessed to be a blessing. So God's gonna keep His word. Like, how you gonna bless somebody if you ain't got nothing to bless them with, right? God is the God of His word. So choosing to trust Him, choosing to believe Him, and choosing to just follow Him will always get us somewhere greater and more beneficial than choosing to do it our own way and just doing our own thing and tucking our tails and running.